everyone. I'm Melissa D with Body Joy Intimacy School, and you are entering after office hours. And so most Thursdays, we actually do an evening show. And this is where we kind of drop in or out of our normal day to day and drop in with other inspiring practitioners and colleagues and people that are in a similar field or in the field of sex and intimacy. And tonight's guests I'm super excited about because I have a long history with Jaya and I've known Stephanie for a number of years. And tonight's guests have an actual business that they're cultivating, and they're offering something that I think is really needed, especially with a lot of the clients that I work with. But we'll get into the juicy details about this. So my tonight's guests are.
We've got a little juicy detail here.
What's this? Action needed? What does that mean?
It says it's too low frames per second.
Huh.
So
stick with us.
Yeah, we're going to try to make sure this is. We've got 3 people on.
This is why we have a tech person. That's totally amazing. And I know she's watching me.
Stream viewer. Why don't we see what the settings are?
It looks like it's doing it.
Do you want to go check and see how it looks on your end?
We can check on mine. So hold on one second, everybody, while we just make sure this is doing. Okay, Sam says it looks great. Okay, it looks great, she says. Okay, so thanks for hanging with us. What is this doing? We're just going to ignore this square that keeps popping up. Okay, tonight's guests, they are creating a business based on cuddle therapy. Is that the right word for it?
Professional cuddling.
Professional cuddling.
Companionship.
And this is very clearly a service that is just platonic cuddling, clothes on, all that. So we'll get into the details of what that is. So I want to give a warm welcome to the creators and the women who developed Cuddle Heaven, Jaya and Stephanie.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks. Okay, so I want to go into, I've known Jaya for a number of years from the healing arts background. You were a sound healer at some of the retreats that I used to do or be a part of. And Stephanie, I know you from a different circle here in Austin. And so do you want to just share with me and also our viewers, what was kind of your entry point into doing cuddling and offering it? And what was your, maybe what are some of the things that kind of went, whoop, that kind of blocked you into this as an offering?
Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
All right, I guess. Well, I'll start since I got you into it. So let's go chronologically here, right?
And I have to say that these ladies really have their stuff together. I've been to this house that they have in Austin, and it's this beautiful sanctuary, and they have it very dialed in. In fact, I've been here a few times, and we've had meetings with other professionals that want to offer this as a service, and it's just I'm really impressed. So do you want to share with how did you get into this?
I have a super broad background. I did academics. I got into I got into health and wellness. I was a massage therapist for a long time. All kinds of personal development stuff. Lots of exploration, and altogether a long background now in touch and intimacy services, going from clinical therapeutic massage therapy to platonic to non-platonic, explore the whole spectrum of things. And cuddling really came up to me in the last couple of years as a niche that fills needs that none of the other things that are out there available for people fills. And so I started exploring it, and for the last year, it's been my full-time focus.
Wow.
And I dabbled a bit earlier, but I really got into it. And it's just, the more that I've done it, the more that I see just how much it addresses needs that aren't being addressed any other way, and the level of intimacy and connection that can be created in that kind of a space is just enormous. So I shared it with Jaya, and I kind of led her into it as well.
Yeah, I have been doing a lot of different healing arts trainings and modalities, sound healing, nutrition, and all kinds of hands-on, like Reiki. And so I have been also as my main business doing websites for a long time.
You did bodyjoy.org,
Yes.
everybody.
I did your website.
Yeah.
I did your website.
Okay,
Yeah.
And
all of our websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really looking for something to do that felt like my healing arts practices, that was healing in nature and just got me out of my left brain masculine, techie mode. Yeah, and that was really important because I'm a single mom, and I'm managing the masculine role and the feminine role, and so yeah, Stephanie told me about it, and I hadn't really been doing a lot of my healing arts because I was just making more money with web design, and I was like, wow, I'm going to try this, and it's great because it's a give and take, and we all receive. Like I'm getting oxytocin.
Yeah.
It feels nice. So it's just been really sweet because I can incorporate my healing modalities. A lot of times I'll bring in tuning forks, or I'll sing. Sometimes I'll do a virtual session with someone, and it's like the breath work that I've studied with my Kundalini yoga training. So all my trainings are able to go in and help with this, which just feels like a very base level intimacy that people need, just touch and being heard. So yeah, she told me about this website, and we've been on this one website that we don't love, although it works for certain purposes.
Yeah. Which is why you're kind of starting your own,
Yeah.
right? We'll get to that. So I love this because it's a great segue into like, what is a service and why do we feel it's so important? You were saying like the aspects of oxytocin and getting your needs met. So what are kind of the boundaries of a cuddle session? You want to speak about that and maybe lead into like, what are the benefits for not only you, but for the client?
Do we want to just say like what a typical cuddle session looks like?
Yeah, we can talk about that. Sure. Well, and also like, yeah, what is the benefit? Like why is this such a powerful service? I mean, I know how it is because it's healthy for the body, but I would like to, I'm sure other people watching would like to understand too, like, why would I want to hire a professional? Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to want to do that. And there's, there are lots of different services out there that serve different needs. You can see a massage therapist and get a one-way touch experience, or you can see a talk therapist and get, the opportunity to share vulnerably and deeply, but you don't get to touch someone. Or you can date and take a long time developing the connection and the trust and the relationship to have a physical connection with somebody, and many other options out there. But the opportunity for a cuddling service, it really creates a container that is very unique, where you get to skip all of the social dance that it normally takes to get into a physical connection with somebody, because you have a specific container with boundaries around it. So instead of having to develop the trust over a long time with somebody, you just make an agreement that this is what we're going to do and what we're going to stick to. And you can go straight into the agreement that says, okay, we're going to have a physical connection here, but it's not going to go past just the platonic, fully clothed aspects. We're not going to tiptoe into the sexual realm, right? But we can have this physical connection and open up, with somebody who's that part of your normal circle. Oftentimes sharing can be difficult because when you open up and share things with people that are part of your daily life, it can affect your daily life.
Absolutely.
But that's again, say if you see a talk therapist, you can open up in ways because it's not somebody who's part of your normal circle. Right. And in this case, it's the same thing. You can have somebody who may have never met before and who's available, open, listening, there for you, and you can share things with them that you might not be able to share with anybody else in your life, and have that touch connection at the same time and feel held and seen, and
which is just so different than talk therapy. Because talk therapy, you're just so clearly paying this therapist to listen to you, right?
Right,
and to talk to you.
And mind dump or whatever.
It's different than a combination of being held and nurtured and you do have that oxytocin rush happening, and someone's listening to you and chatting with you, and just enjoying each other. Some cultures, people haven't grown up. Like we've noticed, we'll have different cultures of people that come in as clients, and they haven't even grown up allowing for any kind of touch. They don't touch a woman until they're married to her or something. Yeah. So, there's a lot of people who might just not feel really comfortable in that realm, and so it's like,
yes,
or they have this goal. Like I love the way you're always talking about how if it's based around sex, the session, then there's this goal of sex, and so that's there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't reach these areas that having that nice little container of this is all we're doing. Then it's like, okay, we're not trying to get to sex. We're just going to relax and embrace each other literally in the moment and enjoy each other, and then that deepening can happen of the intimacy and the conversation and stuff. When you're not having this goal of sexual orgasm or something, or just anything.
I love that it's becoming more and more popular, or there's more awareness around it of the importance of co-regulation, and especially in a big city like Austin and many other places. I'm just condensing it because there's a lot of business here for me and y'all. Is that people are busy, y'all? Yeah, exactly. People are like living and working in their minds and like really focused. And either they're in a relationship or they're not, or maybe they're dating. Who knows? But getting touch and nourishment that isn't attached to something or like some goal or some pressure or whatever,
or an expectation.
Right. And it's so nourishing. And I find that a lot of folks that I even see and coach and do work with will try to find dates because they want to get this very basic need met, but they're trying to push over into like, oh, I'll just go on Tinder, which again, all this is great, but it's nice to know that there's like this broad spectrum of like, oh, I can just cuddle someone and I don't need to like perform or like go through the dating thing. And I could go to Tinder or these other places, but there's definitely a difference, almost like a broad spectrum of experiences, and the importance of that co-regulation, that calmness. And I've given you ladies a couple referrals from Body Joy because I find it really important for folks to like get your talk therapy needs met. Yes, do that. Go exercise, do all the things. But there's something really profound about having just someone sit and listen and or cuddle you when it doesn't involve anything else. Especially if you don't have that. Especially during COVID. I can't COVID's been really hard for a lot of folks.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I feel like that was what I was noticing last year when I really dove into it, and that it was the isolation and touch deprivation and skin under, as people say, right, has been huge. And so of course there's struggles both ways because you're wanting to reach out and connect with people, but there's a lot of fear around connecting with people right now. So it's people are just very stressed out about it, but the need is so strong that people are really, really wanting to reach out and get services, and it's a lot of things.
And giving like permissioning that being okay. That's huge. Like the last client that I kind of pitched your direction, it was like just freshly out of the marriage, no touch, totally dysregulated, stressed out, doing a lot of work on themselves. And I thought, you know what you need? And this is just a suggestion. Just someone to come in and just cuddle and just like, again, like just soothe your nervous system a little bit. And then you don't need to date them or swoon them or like be naked in front of them or perform or whatever the thing is. It's like,
that's a big piece.
Any of that.
No performance.
Right.
On either side.
Right.
I even feel that like I don't have to do some profound healing on this person. It doesn't matter that I've taken a training in this, whatever. It's just like my presence and my being with someone and laying with someone and just my loving, caring self.
Powerful.
And that's, the not having an agenda thing is a huge aspect of that, of just actually being able to focus on what's going on in this moment, where you are, what you're feeling, what physically, emotionally, what you're able to share with somebody. So, yeah, I love how complementary our services are, because I'm also, I've been referring people to you too,
Right. Yeah.
because people need all of these things.
Absolutely.
And we, that's another thing that we want to make sure is that there's no shame around what somebody's wants and desires and needs are. It's just, there's a struggle for the cuddling industry to become more legitimized right now, because as with many other things, it's often used as a euphemism or by people who want to try to do more than cuddling. And that's one of our goals, is to try to help with the clarity here, that it's okay to have all these different things, but what can cuddling do that nothing else can do, and how can we emphasize and build that opportunity for people? And that's it's a big part of our focus at this point.
Beautiful. So I'm curious if you can guide us through what, from the time that they come and find you on the site, because there's a site for it, right? And I know that you're building your own, but you've been on this other site for a couple of years. So what's the anatomy, or what's the structure of lead us through an experience from start to finish? What does that actually look like with someone booking with you?
So they would have their own profile on the site, and we have profile for each person that's doing the profession has a profile. And so there's a reaching out that happens, and then a proposal of wanting to have a booking. And then we as practitioners have to kind of go through this process to vet the person. Because like she's saying, not everybody is there for a platonic cuddle.
They're thinking, oh, you want to cuddle? And that actually means something else, which again, it's nothing wrong with getting to something else, but let's just be clear and adults about it and know exactly what are we getting into.
Yeah, and we know all the lines now at this point.
I'm sure.
Oh, what can I wear? What are you gonna wear? Will you wear this? And little clues, and we'll do often a video intake and just get to know the person, make sure we're clear on what we're both here for.
Do you ever cuddle with a couple? Has that
yes,
okay. I love that.
It was really fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, I cuddled a couple, and we've done double cuddles.
Yeah, So the two of us, or I've done doubles with a number of other practitioners as well.
Yeah. So you can either have two of us sandwiching you and each cuddling one side of you.
Does that sound lovely?
Or
it's just to have someone come over and
both sides.
You can be the big spoon and the little spoon at the same time.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Sometimes if we want to switch it up a little bit, she'll stay cuddling, or she'll do a little hands-on something, and then I'll go and get my sound healing instruments.
So when you say hands-on something, what is that?
Rubbing, massage, neck rub, head rub.
And this is all done over the clothes. I'm just I know what it's like, but I'm also kind of asking people ooh, what does that include exactly?
Yeah, I heard myself say hands-on. I was like,
you gotta just be really specific. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll integrate these other things like sound healing, and that can be really sweet. I'll do that on my own, or with her.
Incredible.
Yeah, and these people, they just come and they melt with us,
and they come to the house, whatever your house is.
Or sometimes we'll do out calls. Just every woman who does it has different parameters of how she does it, or man.
There's a few dudes out there that are doing it. Okay.
There's the vast majority, like with many services along the intimacy spectrum, the vast majority of clients are male. So if you're going to be a professional practitioner, typically it's you. And if you're looking to earn a living, it's seeing male clients. We do believe that there is a niche market out there for female clients seeking male professional cuddlers, but that hasn't been tapped into yet. So down the road, that's something we're going to be definitely looking to offer more.
Yeah. Do you ever have women reach out to cuddle with other women?
I had my first non-binary client a male to female trans individual recently. That was a really cool experience. Yeah, they were, they were nervous, but it was very sweet. Very, yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. Of other women, it's mostly the other female professionals that I have actually cuddled.
They want to come cuddle the
They're like, I want to see what you're offering. So
well, and you started by doing that.
So that was how. So on of the services that are available right now, the side that we've used the most doesn't promote a lot of community and
or camaraderie.
Yeah,
between the women.
So what I noticed was that there were lots of other pros like listing their profiles on the site, but trying to reach out to them felt awkward, and I was worried that am I just they're going to see me as just a competition, and I'm just trying to steal their clients, and they're not going to want to talk to me. So
yeah,
I finally got up the idea to reach out to the other top pro in Austin at the time and book a session with her, because I thought, well, of course she's gonna come. I want to pay her to come cuddle me.
Yeah,
that should work. It did, and it was great. Turns out she said she tried to do the same thing to reach out to others and had a difficult experience getting anyone to want to connect. So she was really thrilled that I had reached out to her, and it started with her, and then I started reaching out to more. To the extent that we have a bunch of women now in the Austin area who are part of our professional cuddle group, and they come over and they have tea about once a month at our house right here where we can.
I've seen it a couple times. It's awesome. I walk in and there's like a room full of women all getting together and chatting. I think that
giggling, cutting up,
and also just like talking about their profession, what they're doing, what's it, that is so important for practitioners and providers. Yeah.
And we get so much feedback from them. They're just like, oh my God, I felt so alone, and I'm so glad to be able to talk to you about this. Because it is a burgeoning industry, and there is some weird stuff that can happen. And so, just having a community.
When you say like weird stuff, what comes to mind?
Well, we do run into challenges sometimes. Again, because as well she's saying right now, it's kind of a fledgling industry, and there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people wanting to push boundaries. There are a lot of things that if you don't have a really solid sense of what you're about and how to handle yourself professionally, it can be really challenging. And so that's what we noticed, is that a lot of the other women that we talked to had also struggled with this and not knowing, like, how do you deal with this situation? What if somebody asks for this, or what if somebody does this, or how do you handle yourself, and how do you handle your own boundaries and what your priorities are, and how do you resist the temptation when they want to offer you more money to do things you don't want to do?
Why would you want to?
So that, and also, like, even if you were offered more money to other services, like stepping outside of the boundaries of a cuddle session, that's got to be a little murky for you and the client. And then they go to someone else and are like, oh, if I just pay extra, I'll get these extra things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when having a community where we can say, you know what, we're in this together. Like, we're all trying to support each other by sticking to these agreements so that we can create this industry, and we can not feel like we have to like bend over backwards and give up our boundaries. And it's very empowering to feel like there are other women behind you and saying, like, no, let's do it this way. Again, if you want to offer other things and like have other services that can exist out there, let's keep the clarity around this, what we are offering, and to be able to feel like it's not just us versus the rules of the site. It's not me versus the site. It's like, why should I stick to this? Or it's us as a community saying, this is what we want to create. This is who we want to be, what we want to represent. And this is how we want the industry to work. And we have to cooperate to do that.
Yeah, that's. I run into the same things. A lot of like people that are starting like sex education, or being some sort of providers of a service, or somatic sex educators. They're like struggling with, like, how do I deal with clients when this or this or this happens? And if you don't have mentors,
Right.
okay, or work with someone that's been in the field, then you're kind of, there's a lot more room for error, and it's a disservice to the industry. So
yeah, mentorship is something that has always been really key to me, and that's how I got started. In part with, I mean, I started by reaching out to the pro I thought I could learn the most from, but then I also started getting contacts and reaching out to others that I thought I could help, and so I ended up creating a training program to help people who were trying to succeed on the existing platforms.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's really because many of them don't provide any sort of training to speak of. And
just sort of throw you in there.
I just have these visualizations of like someone in a dorm room trying to get their rent together, and they're just kind of doing whatever.
Absolutely.
Because I find that to be the case with sex workers as this huge umbrella of any kind of touch or intimacy. And it's like, yeah, if you don't have any guidance and boundaries and structure, and like it's just kind of okay.
Now on the what?
Oh, sorry. Well, I was just gonna say, and a lot of that work actually happens before you ever see anyone. That's the biggest bulk of getting that clarity. Yeah, right before they step in the door.
I'm really curious about your direct experience with whatever healing, nourishment, or what stories pop up for you that really speak to you as a testament to this therapy.
Well, most recently, I just came back from a little trip to go visit family and friends for Thanksgiving, and I decided to take a dose of my own cuddle medicine and only cuddle with all the people that I interacted with. And
are you meaning like, because you told me the story off camera? So is this people that paid you or people that you were seeing?
Oh, right. So I went to do cuddle services. So I was seeing clients, but I also was seeing friends and like past partners of mine that I still have connections with. And it was very interesting because I decided to just soak up the platonic energy that was available to me. And, working on, I've gone through some challenging times recently. And I felt like I really need this same thing. I really need this like emotional like holding in my life right now. And so it wasn't, I didn't know what the trip was going to entail in that regard. And it turned out to just be amazing myself, and the ability to just receive like touch and share and not have any expectations or any other agendas. And so I really felt the benefits of it myself just very recently.
Lovely. So, you were a little surprised because you thought, "Ooh, this or this." I
thought other things might have happened, or I had other things, in my mind as possibilities. And then I realized, you know what I really need? I just need to be cuddled.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Like I took a realization, and I wonder how many other people might need to have that same realization. Maybe I just really need to be held and listened to.
Yeah. Jaya, do you have any stories?
Well, I think I just want to share a story about the most unique client I ever had. Who was a virtual client. There is such a thing as virtual cuddling. And so this is someone who is agoraphobic, doesn't leave their house as much as possible. What's the actual definition of agoraphobic? Like, it's just someone who's really uncomfortable leaving their house. Okay. And so this person hardly ever left his apartment, and he was selectively mute. And so I'd never heard of that before, but it's like when someone just chooses not to talk. And it turned out that he has a really bad stutter, and I think this all plays into each other. But he was actually too nervous for me to come to him or him to come to me in the house. So we were doing virtual sessions every week. Wow. And I would just sing to him. We would hold ourselves and do breath work. And he would lay down. It's funny because the first time he laid down, it was kind of like, uh-oh. What's going to go on underneath the screen there?
Right.
Like, is he... but he just laid down, and then he tilted his little computer so I could see everything. He was just holding his hands there, and
That's really sweet.
he rested. And every time he just be like, "Wow, this feels so relaxed." And this is someone who's just never relaxed.
Wow.
The kinds of clients that we see, if we could talk about that a little bit, just because there's such a spectrum. Like there was one guy that both of us had seen that had been in some really bad car accidents, and it was like he never felt okay in his body without having pain unless he was like in this oxytocin rush. We've both seen married people who are not getting any touch with their partner. One of them we did a double cuddle with had a wife who was bedridden, and he just took care of her all the time, and they couldn't have hardly any kind of intimacy physically. And so he was just lapping it up, like this man who's giving so much to his wife, this older man with an older wife. And I'm like, wow, that's really beautiful commitment and dedication to her. And you're still finding a way within the agreements of your marriage to get your needs met.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So stuff like that. There's so many reasons why people come.
And so tell me a little bit about what is some of the profiles of some of the people that come and see you?
There are, many different ages and backgrounds and cultures, and so much can vary. Sometimes it's just a simple like an hour session together, just in the room. Sometimes it can involve much more extensive experiences, going out to dinner or doing lengthy sessions like overnights. Or I had a client that I think she knows what I'm going to say. We would just play backgammon.
Right? I love backgammon. I actually need to learn that. Okay.
And it's all part of the same. And this is even things like virtual cuddling. There's an essential quality to it, that you're holding space for somebody that in a way that can be physical, but also can just be like helping them to feel held as a whole person. And
again, like just without the expectation or the side story of like where this could go.
Yep, that and just the presence of it. So as she mentioned, so many of them are single and isolated. Many people who find dating is just too challenging for any number of reasons, time, or dating apps are just terrible. And some people are in relationships and they struggle with not being able to get the intimacy and the physical touch experiences that they would like to from their partner. Some are able to be open with their partners about it. Some are not able to be open with their partners about it. There's a lot of struggles those ways. I think it was mentioned earlier, some people who have never had touch or intimacy experiences in their lives, and they're looking to open the door. There's, that is like culturally, that's another thing that can be very different. Happens, plenty of people are isolated culturally here too, but also, other places where it's just, you just don't touch people. And
which can be so nerve-wracking, then trying to find a partner,
right?
And then
so awkward about it all.
Like
experience.
That regulation is important. Wow. Okay. What do you think makes a good cuddle practitioner?
Someone that really cares about people, nurturing person, someone who's maybe been interested in healing arts of some type, or caretakes people a lot. That's a huge piece.
Yeah. Having a recognizing that as a practitioner, you are providing a service. So even though there is a reciprocal element, kind of a give and take to it, it is up to the person who's acting as a professional to create the experience. And so to think about how they're from the time that they begin communicating with the client, what are the expectations? How are they communicating? um, how are they preparing, the level of professionalism that they're communicating. Like when I do my video consultations, the kinds of questions that I ask, like thinking about that kind of stuff. How does this all lead up to setting the right expectations, setting the right intention for what you can create, and then when planning ahead so that you are able to create the kind of experience that the person is looking for and that you want to deliver. So just
that you want to show up, that
Yeah.
you're very responsible.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we hear the most from clients. That's the most disappointing is that sometimes people who are claiming to be professionals will flake, not show up. It's a different person than in the photo. I mean, all kinds of
or not having
crazy
that on ramp,
stories.
not having that container set. It's the same,
Mhm.
same thing that I hear.
The term professional cuddling sort of gets thrown around a bit too much.
Yeah.
Often it just means somebody who's charging money to cuddle,
Right.
rather than really somebody who is a professional practitioner.
Right.
So that's where having background in other modalities can be very beneficial, to know what it's like to create a service and to show up in that way.
Beautiful. Yeah. There was something I wanted to ask you. Okay, so yeah. What's your biggest difference? And you've kind of sprinkled them through our conversation already, but the two of you were on a site or a number of sites for a little bit, and now you're launching your own Cuddle Heaven. What's the biggest difference? Like, why do you want to go to Cuddle Heaven? I mean, already sounds like what sets you apart from these other companies that are out there?
I think we should tell the story of the trip.
Okay. Yeah, tell me the story. Do you want to hear the story of the trip? I do.
So we decided to try out a little trip for cuddling.
Was this when I was in town last?
I think it was.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we decided to go to Dallas and drive up there.
Cuddle Heaven Park.
Yeah. We need some bling at least. So we rented an Airbnb, and it took us about 3 or 4 days to plan out everything, do the little video chats with people, go back and forth on scheduling, try to message these people with the antiquated messaging system on the current site. Just everything took so much effort to set it up that it took more effort to set things up than it did to actually have the sessions. And so on our drive over, we were just sort of like, wow, that was a lot of effort. And we're driving up to Dallas, and we're just talking about, she was kind of thinking about offering this training program to the current site that we've been using. She's just been working so hard on it and receiving so much benefit. And we've been complaining about the technology of the site and everything and just the way they run their business. And so we're chatting in the car, and I'm like, because I'd already made a social media site for Health Freedom, and I'm like, I could just make such a better site than the one we're using.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, well, wait a minute, you've already done the training. I've already done a site that's very similar. Maybe we should just make a better site, and make a better training and really hold people's hand.
Yeah,
who either want to be a practitioner or a client, really onboard the clients, make it a much faster, safer process when people are trying to vet someone that they want to cuddle with. So many things. Yeah. Really just upping the professionalism. Yeah. Making a lot of videos so that there aren't weird questions lingering. What is a cuddle session? What is it not? What happens if I get an erection? Things like this, that are going to come up. Yeah. Maybe literally.
Yeah, that's where I feel like that the angle I have towards mentorship is something that's really key, because, as she said, hand holding people through it. This is something that not everybody understands and not everybody trusts, and there's good reason for that, considering what's like the wild west of cuddling that is
the wild west of cuddling.
Because just to say, like, cuddling is kind of where massage therapy was 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
You know, there was a lot of ambiguity about what's going on when I lay down on someone's table and get under those sheets.
Right.
So we're in a similar place.
Yeah. Now, and I don't think that it's necessary to take cuddling to the level of licensing and regulation. Like, you don't need that much training to cuddle somebody, just to, create some space. But at the same time, people need more than what's generally available right now.
Yes.
And so that's a big part of it, is that our site is geared to help guide everybody through the process and create a sense of camaraderie, of community, of the kind of raising up what the benefits of cuddling are. This isn't just a euphemism for other things. This is a whole new opportunity that we have to create something that is really valuable and that people can appreciate, perhaps at this point in time, more than ever before. And so we really want to put a lot of effort into making it clear that that is what we're going for. At the same time, again, not to the level of licensing and regulation. It can be therapeutic for many people, but at the same time, we don't want to create something that is too clinical, because that's another challenge in what's out there.
It's like, who wants to snuggle with a clinical practitioner, some dry therapeutic? It just it doesn't really go together.
Yeah,
and there's something that it always struck me, like even in my massage profession days, about everything being tied to making sure that you're being very, very modest and don't accidentally give somebody the wrong idea. And there was all of this effort to make sure that the therapist or the practitioner, was shielding the client from any possible, like,
donut massages.
I don't know if I know that.
Okay.
But this effort to make sure that nothing could accidentally be a turn on or something like that. Right? And I really think that there's actually something much more to be gained by just entering into this experience together and saying, you know what, you are attractive, and that's one of the reasons I'd like to interact with you. But we're adults, and we can just make an agreement that we're just not going to act on that. And then maybe we can even have that be part of the juiciness of our experience, and still just keep the boundaries we agreed on. And that kind of practice for real life, that is something that you can't get from somebody, acting as the therapist, trying to make sure that,
everything's buttoned down.
Yeah.
Buttoned up.
That's
closed off, spackled shut.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we want to bring, something that helps people really have the opportunity to interact in a genuine, authentic way in a session, and
feels natural.
And
contrived,
right,
contorted. Because I'm just going to interrupt, because there are some trainings out there in some cuddle sites where it is very much emphasized that this is a therapy, and we wear t-shirts and khakis, and we challenge our clients to push past their edges, and it's almost like they take consent training and everything so far that there's nothing natural. The whole thing feels very contrived. We've had experience with clients where you just want to lay there and smile and have a good time and cuddle up, and you don't want to be okay, how would you feel about
it's so dry, guys.
Yeah, it's just some of the trainings that are available are very unnatural.
It reminds me of
people don't want that experience.
Yeah, it's like some of the consent stuff that we teach into sex and intimacy, where it takes the realness out of it. It's like you have to ask this, and you ask this, and you ask this. It's not actually in real time, and giving space for real people to respond and be in space. So all that training is crucial. And then how does that distill through you in the moment?
Well, and a lot of it is just handle all that stuff before the session. That's why you have a video intake.
I'm just visualizing Jaya showing up with khakis and a button-up eye outside. Eyes shirt. I'm just like, oh my God, no! I want to be cuddling in those stiff pants. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that the ability to take to have these experiences, to develop our skills and like the comfort and just handling and maintaining and respecting each other and our boundaries, like can translate into real life in a much more valuable way.
Because how many times have you ever like, had a big old fatty crush on someone and you're laying there with them and you're just like, so turned on, and you don't know what to do, and it's a really fun edge to push, right? Just, there's nothing I need to do,
right?
Like, yeah, I can just stew in my own juiciness and not shame it. But that person doesn't have to be on board, you know. Like we can have a container, and we know what we're there for and what we're not. Fine.
I mean, it's a different context, but it also reminds me of I had a friend in the Bay that was married. And they had a crush on me, and they made it extremely public. Like he's like, "Oh, and Melissa's here, and I have such a big crush on her." And it was just so cute because it was like it wasn't a secret. We weren't taking it anywhere, and it was fun to just play in that space. So every time we saw each other at these different parties, you know, and I'd meet his wife, and it was just like the sweetest thing instead of like something that's pushed in the shadows. So
No shame.
That's beautiful.
And some of the other sites do. I mean, I wouldn't say they shame people, but there's a borderline feeling of like, no. We don't talk about that other thing that you might think about, and don't go there. And
like religion, I don't know. Is that this is exactly what religion does? Some of them. Okay. So where do we find you?
Cuddleheaven.com.
Cuddleheaven.com.
It's a coming soon page right now. We're building the site out. And we have a list that you can join. Our socials. We're just getting it all rolling.
Great. So if people, you know, if you're listening to this or hearing this, you know, watching this replay, you can type your questions and hit replay on the bottom here. And if you want to sign up and maybe you're called to do this work. I mean, this is revolutionary. Or if you're someone that could really use it, say if you're in a relationship, you and your partner, whatever the configuration is, whatever you're doing in your life, just take note. Are you getting enough cuddles? Are you getting enough human connection that doesn't have to lead anywhere? Yeah. So what's your big vision for Cuddle
Heaven? Well, we've got the huge long term.
Yeah. How about let's just shoot some rockets of desire out just real quick. What's your next steps?
Launching. Okay. Valentine's Day.
And you're in Austin, Texas. Okay.
But it's not just Austin based.
Okay. We're starting with Austin because that's where we primarily are, where we have the most connections. So we know we need a certain critical mass of people to exist on the site before we can really expand. I'm going to be doing some traveling in the next couple of months to go around and start trying to seed new areas around the country. And we know where some of the hot spots are, and we have, you know, some connections. So we're going to be looking to expand in some other major cities around the country. Ultimately, this could go globally, like however far it needs to go. Personally, I also want to tie it into what I feel is like my other big life project, which is which we've kind of been talking about in terms of different types of housing models outside of the nuclear family, and getting communities of women who want to live together, whether they're individuals or like single moms or older women who are living alone and want to have more community, and creating the term that we talk about these communities, we say Amazonia, which has a bit of a story behind it as well. And then being able to teach cuddling to women who want to live together in communities like this as a way to help them be able to, make ends meet, make a living in a safe and legal way, and flexible and nourishing and empowering, and turn it into something that can really benefit society in just spread. That's my big vision.
I love it. Great. Okay, so go ahead and check it out right now. It's cuddleheaven.com. I imagine you'll have social medias and more things as this grows. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm glad I happened to be in Austin at the same time.
It's so cool to do it in person.
I love it. I love the energy of in-person stuff. Great. So anyone that's watching, we have other episodes of After Office Hours. You can check us out on YouTube, Bodyjoy TV. We also have Instagram, Bodyjoy Intimacy School. And again, if you want to find out more about what these ladies are offering, check out cuddleheaven.com. And thanks for watching tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.